On this episode of Back of the Grid, we are here to preview the USA Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas. And there's not much else to talk about, so let's go! Hello and welcome to another edition of Back of the Grid. I'm your host Stu and I'm joined as always by Chris.
Hello.
And no Tom this week, sadly.
I like that we always say "as always," even though
I know
it's clearly not always.
It's never always. This season, like, to be fair, up until this year, it actually the majority of the time there would be all three of us on. But I think just like there's been a lot of life for everyone, hasn't there? This year, so
I think we just stick with always saying "as always." Just
yeah. I mean, it's almost ironic at this point, but why not?
Yeah, we'll stick with it.
We're here to preview the USA Grand Prix as given away in the description of the episode at the very beginning.
Finally,
if you've got this far, well done.
Finally, there's a race to preview.
Yeah, finally. If you disagree with any of our preview or anything we've got to say at any point in this episode, do leave a comment down below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And yeah, let's kick in. For a bit of news first, Chris.
Yeah, quite a big bit of news actually. Not announced with the biggest fanfare, but Toyota are back in F1, kind of, sort of. Kind of.
Did I ever tell you that I'm Toyota's biggest fan?
You have mentioned your love for Toyota, yes. I mean, Toyota themselves went at lengths to say, please don't report that as Toyota are making a comeback to F1. But Toyota are making a comeback to F1 in the form of they are becoming an official technical partner to Haas in a multi-year deal. Basically, Toyota are going to be providing, they say, design, technical and manufacturing services to Haas. And then Haas say they're going to supply technical expertise and commercial benefits in return. All of which is marketing speak to say.
We'll give you lathes, you give us wind tunnel. That's
kind of, yeah. So Toyota are going
to
be... Toyota have got their base in Cologne in Germany, which is where the WEC team and I think some of their World Rally stuff is based out of. So they're going to be providing some of their facilities, machinery, personnel to help pass out. They're also going to be... So right now, Haas use the Ferrari wind tunnel and Ferrari simulator. They're going to carry on using the Ferrari wind tunnel and their sim for car development, but then they're going to get their own on-site simulator that Toyota are providing to use for sort of driver development stuff and that kind of thing. In return, it kind of gives Toyota a bit more frontline motorsport sort of eyes and hands-on experience without necessarily going full-on into F1. And also a big part of it seems to be Toyota wanting to grow their young driver program. Because Haas have never had any sort of testing program for running old cars.
Yeah.
It's just never existed for them. So basically Toyota are going to kind of run that with them. Toyota are going to provide the sort of some of the personnel and the organisation to have these kind of private testing programs and provide their own drivers for it.
And of course it means that training for personnel as well. Usually on young driver days or on old car testing days, they'll send more junior personnel to learn the ropes, learn how to run a Formula 1 car, and with a view to getting them in the garage on the race team eventually.
Yeah, that's one specific thing Haas pointed out, which is that like we've got a very small number of people and they can all do their job and there's not much room to learn anything else. So this will give people an opportunity, as you say, to go and try different things and learn things. Yeah, they're also going to be having proper Toyota branding. They've released some pictures, like the rear wing's got Toyota Gazoo Racing, the logo you'll recognise from lots of other motorsports plastered across the car, which is cool to see. It kind of feels like a win-win, doesn't it? Like, I think both sides really benefit from this.
Yeah, for Toyota, I mean, it's a funny one, isn't it? Personally, I'd like to see a full Toyota Works team again. I think that'd be rad. But obviously they're not quite ready to go that far just yet. Maybe in the future they will, who knows? But they have been at pains to say that that's not what's happening. Often when a big company like this comes in and they're at pains to say, oh no, we're not going to be a works team. Suddenly, 3 or 4 years down the line, you've got a works Toyota on the circuit. But who knows? Yeah, I think I'm excited to see, Toyota written on a car at Formula One. I think that's nice. I do like the GR brand. Like the Supra is one of my favourite cars.
Yeah.
The GR Corolla is a rad car, and obviously the GR Yaris and the GR86 as well.
For those who don't know, GR Gazoo Racing is kind of, I guess it's sort of like what AMG is to Mercedes, GR is to Toyota, is a sort of very simplified way of
kind of.
it.
But
Kind of.
Also, it's a bit of a kind of. It's like putting RS on a. It's like putting an S line on a on an Audi. I'm about to offend a lot of Audi drivers, I'm sure. But if you drive an S line Audi, then you're not driving a real sports Audi, because the real sports Audis are RS models. But that's by the by. Let's not upset everyone.
There's a whole RS.
But it just make me laugh though when you're driving behind one and you can see that S line and you're like, I see.
Sline.
I see you.
I think it seems like a really good way for Haas to grow as well, because Haas have very much been. They exist and do a decent-ish job. Depends on the season. They do a decent job with the limited resources and money and personnel they've got. A partnership like this makes a lot of sense. The bit that I think is going to be difficult for them is that they already have a main office in the UK, I think near Silverstone, a head office in somewhere on the East Coast in the States. They've also got a lot of their manufacturing happens in a corner of the Ferrari factory in Maranello, and their chassis are built by Dallara in another part of Italy. And now you're adding a company whose head office is in Japan and their factory is in Cologne in Germany to the mix. So, by their own admission, kind of the amount the team is spread around slows down the rate they can develop things. Yeah. And I do wonder if over time they will move away from Dallara and the Toyota factory will end up doing a lot of the manufacturing side of things.
It's possible. Yeah, it's definitely possible. I should point out actually that S-Line is actually nowhere near as good as GR. I was just thinking about it. Like, my mind was wandering as you were talking then. I'm like, actually no, the GR series in Toyota is like way, way better than S-Line, any S-Line, Audi, anything. So yeah, just to clear that one up for the Toyota fans and to offend the Audi fans further.
Even more, yeah. And that's what we're really here to do.
Shall we talk storylines for the next race?
Yeah.
So, who wants to do them? Shall I do them or do you want to do them?
Up to you. I wrote them, but you can read them if you want.
I'm going to read what you wrote. We'll take turns. I'll do the first one. You
go on then.
And so on. So, first storyline of the week. What difference will the unusual, Brett, you can tell I didn't write these ones, the unusual break have made to the running order? Will the Red Bull upgrade be enough to close the gap to McLaren? Or will McLaren's upgrades have done enough to keep them ahead of Red Bull?
As far as we know, Red Bull are the one bringing like the big proper upgrade, but none of the rest are going to stand still. And as we were talking about a week or two ago, like this is a really unusual sort of period where teams can just go away and work on the cars without worrying about the pesky racing business getting in the way.
Yeah. But then, the thing is, there's only so far you can go because you're not actually running the cars. It's not like the old days where you could, just test it 12 hours a day and see what throw anything at the wall and see what sticks. Like nowadays, like you really do need that on track running to draw honest conclusion. I think if we've learned anything this season, it's you need as much running on track with your car as possible to get an understanding of where they're at, because as they optimize more and more and more to these regulations, it's getting more and more and more difficult for them to find those little bits, and they're on such a knife edge that it's so easy to go too far and ruin your drivability and end up where Red Bull have been for the last umpteen races. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top with all that.
which kind of leads nicely into the next storyline, which is that Red Bull have tended to struggle at sprint weekends with the limited practice time.
Yes.
And, are they even going to be able to get this upgrade working as it needs to with a car that already seems to take longer than most to get into the window?
It's not an ideal situation for them to be coming in with a big upgrade off the back of a long break to a sprint race, is it?
No, basically got an hour to get the car.
Yeah.
For it. Like, you almost wonder if they're just going to basically be using sprint quali as practice too and still trying different things with the car. Like, if they can't get it in the window in practice one, they're going to be really struggling for the rest of the weekend.
They'll be hoping to get it in the window in FP1, but if they can't extract the performance from the car, and there's no guarantee that they will, because like we've said, we've seen so many other teams bringing upgrades and actually go backwards. Yeah, who knows? I mean, we'll know after about an hour of running where they shake out, I think. And then even as you go into quali, other people who are used to their packages will know how to optimize that package. Whereas when you go into the next session, if you're Red Bull, you've had an hour running it. It's like, okay, well, we think this might work for sprint qualifying. So yeah, you could be right, because it could turn into a prolonged, just basically practice for Red Bull again.
Yeah.
They might maybe sacrifice a few of those points in order to hopefully gain in the race itself. Next one. How will Lawson do on his return? What?
Yeah. Do you not remember Daniel Ricciardo losing his seat and that whole thing?
Oh, Liam Lawson. I'm getting Liam Lawson and Logan Sargent's names mixed
Goodness,
up.
no.
I thought for a second, I was like,
back.
look, because it's USA would have been Sargent's home Grand Prix, so I was like second guessing. But no, obviously Sargent's not coming back. Lawson, Lawson's the return of Lawson.
Well, yeah. I mean, the question is, will he do much, and will he even be able to do much? Like, is that car even capable of a driver showing what they can really do? Like, we know Ricciardo struggled in it. Tsunoda has his moments on and off, but
yeah, I mean, look, you don't want to see a driver come into any team, whatever your opinion of what happened to Ricciardo is. You don't want to see drivers come into teams and not sort of do themselves justice. So let's just hope he has a really, really good weekend and hits the ground running. A sprint weekend is probably not the ideal situation for a relative rookie to be coming in. Not quite a rookie, but you could argue he's not done a full season, so that
he did 4 or 5 races, was it last year?
Yeah, I think he constitutes rookie still.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it's going to be, and it obviously hasn't driven this car an awful lot, so yeah, it's going to be a real baptism of fire. Not an easy track either. Very difficult circuit, some really high speed corners, bumpy sections, and they'll be really hoping to nail setup in that car and get things off the ground quickly. So yeah, it'll be exciting to see how Lawson does, I think.
Although worth noting, one of our USA correspondents from the Discord was at COTA for the World Endurance Championship earlier this year, and apparently the drivers there were saying how much better the track surface is. They've done quite a lot of resurfacing, so we shouldn't be seeing the level of bumpiness we've had in the last few years.
Damn, that's a shame, isn't it? Next one.
To the other end of the grid, can Sauber end their points drought? Sauber have now gone a full calendar year without scoring a point.
A full calendar year?
As of a couple of weeks ago during the break, which is ridiculous in a period of time where the last couple of years, like, every team have scored. I'd love to see it happen, but
you hate to see it, but look, at the end of the day, like, it's Formula One, and it's certainly not the first season where a team hasn't scored a point. There's been a few in recent years where I think Williams maybe the last team to not score a point in a season.
Yeah,
I want to say.
They've
had some really rough times. Yeah, Haas finished last, I think, last year, but I think they did score points there.
Yeah, I think so.
So I mean. We're kind of clutching at straws a little bit with this storyline, Chris. It's not.
I thought it was an interesting tidbit that it's been a whole year now they've not.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you know the race that was the closest they've come to scoring a point this year as well?
What was that?
Very first race of the year, they had an 11th place, and that's the closest they've got all season.
Oh, good. That is.
They
haven't really developed at all, have they?
No, they just don't seem to have any interest in it. Like, considering this is the team that's going to be Audi in a couple of years' time, it's weird times. It's also the last seat available on next year's grid, so you've got drivers like fighting for what is currently the worst seat in Formula One.
Yeah, I read Schumacher might be going to that car.
Yeah. Although I feel like ever since Schumacher lost his Haas seat, whenever there's an open seat, there's just talk, it might be Schumacher, maybe Schumacher's coming back. Like, I think there's a lot of people want him back, and I can't see it happening personally.
The only way I want Mick Schumacher back in a Formula One car is if he's in an actual decent car.
Yeah, I'd like to see him.
I don't feel like he ever really got a chance to show what he can actually do.
Not at all.
Because he was in some really, really rubbish, difficult cars.
Yeah, so. And in a not great environment from what has been said since as well. So
sounds like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll watch that one eagerly to see who ends up in that seat and see if Sauber can even manage to scrape a point by the end of the season. I think they will. I think they will actually score a point just through sheer dumb luck. They'll score a point.
I think they probably need a little bit of chaos at some point, don't they?
Yeah. I think that we're due a race with a bit of madness. We've not had a really chaotic race with a lot of incident in recent.
Well, as demonstrated by the final storyline here, is the safety car drought. It's 9 races in a row now without a safety car. Like, surely something is going to happen sooner or later that's going to require that. Like, it's been such high numbers of finishers and.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say. You wait for a bus for long enough and then 3 come along at once. So
yeah, watch it just be an absolute, like, safety car and red
bloodbath.
Like,
safety
goodness. I thought we could quickly go over the title permutations as we're now heading into kind of the final stretch of the season. The final,
6 races to go.
Yes, 6 races and 3 sprints. 3 sprints. So as it stands,
Chris. I don't need you to tell me how many points Norris needs.
I'm taking your job, basically. Here,
Go on, then.
52 points is Verstappen's lead currently, with 180 points remaining on the board. Right now, Norris needs to average 8.67 points more than Verstappen per weekend. For reference, in the last 4 races, he's only been gaining 6.5, so the number he's needed to get is gradually going up. As things currently stand, second place behind Norris would be enough for Verstappen to clinch the title. I mean, no, I don't think anyone believes that those two are going to finish 1-2 in every race by a long stretch.
No.
I think either one of them could have a bad result or retirement at this point in time. It's gonna take something unexpected to make a big swing one way or the other at this point, I think. But
yeah, and we've got 2 triple headers in a row.
Yeah,
here as well. So we've got a real run in now. There's been a Formula One drought, and now there's going to be a flood of Formula One towards the end of the season, which. You tell me whether you tell me what you'd prefer in the comments, but I know what I prefer.
I mean, yeah, like Sao Paulo could throw up weird results. Vegas could easily be a chaotic one. Abu Dhabi often throws up weird results as well. So who
doesn't
knows,
it
man?
just? Yeah, I can see Verstappen's due a DNF. I think if Verstappen gets a DNF in the next couple of races, then we've got one hell of a title battle on our hands at that point. But
especially if he's going to qualify a bit further down in the pack, that just makes it that much more likely that something unexpected could happen to you.
Yeah. So and let's not forget there's potential for large points gaps even in sprint races as well. If Norris were to win a sprint race and Verstappen were to retire, that's an instant gain of 10 points, which suddenly brings it down to a much easier. It makes it that little bit easier. It just opens that door, that metaphoric door that I've been talking about all season. It just it's just that little bit more ajar every time these points are gained on Verstappen. So it only takes a small incident and it could be anything. It could be like a puncture or something like that. It
Yeah.
could be a bit of debris on track. And the same applies to Norris. I mean, the risk is, if anything, the risk is a bit higher for Norris, because it's like, if you retire, you're out of the race and you're just handing the title to Verstappen. Now, when McLaren have looked good, like they did in Singapore, like they really did in Singapore, they've looked really good. And if they can keep that up for the rest of the season, then I think they're in with a really good shout.
So much hinges on these upgrades this weekend, I think.
Yeah, and let's not forget, McLaren have got a new floor waiting in the wings to be tried out as well. I don't think I doubt they'll do it this sprint weekend if they can get their car set up. But they've been, incrementally adding packages together and making sure that all the things they're adding work with everything. They've been to me, it feels like McLaren have been over the season a much more delicate about the way they upgrade their car compared to maybe some other teams that are just throwing everything at it. And we can see it's worked so well for them all season.
Yeah, the last couple of years we've seen a team will be like, oh, this is our big upgrade for the year, and they'll come and throw a million new parts on. If it doesn't work in a budget cap era, then it's like you're sort of done. Like there's not much you can do out of that hole, really. Should we try and make some predictions?
Tricky
weekend for it. Who wants to go?
Well, I mean, I can't even remember the last race. It was so long ago. So this is going to be, it's basically a new season.
Who have you got? Who's your fastest in Q3?
I'm going to go Norris again. I think he's got the goods now. I think he's got it. He's getting it together, and he's got a good chance at this race.
Yeah, I've been leaning towards Leclerc for poles recently, but I'm not sure that Ferrari's going to like this track quite as much, especially with that. A lot of fast and medium speed corners, Ferrari like a good traction zone, so I think I'm going to agree with you and say Norris.
Yep. Let's not forget Mercedes as well. Mercedes got a big upgrade coming this race coming up, so they might have they might be a factor.
I just dare not predict Mercedes for anything though.
No.
Like they're so feast and famine this year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all the teams, other than McLaren, like it's very difficult to know who's going to be quick at any point, isn't it? Yeah. Who you got for the win?
I'm going to go for a Verstappen win, I think.
Chris.
Not really sure why. Why?
What is wrong with you?
I mean, how often am I right, to be fair?
Quite often, mate. Like you.
Yeah.
As often as anyone else doing predictions. Well, I don't know. I've not looked at the scoreboard for ages, but maybe not.
It's not great.
I'm going to go double Norris.
Your first DNF?
First DNF. I am going to go with Lawson.
One of us is going to go for the cruel option, weren't they?
Yeah.
I'm going to say a Haas at their home race, so I'll say Magnussen.
Number of finishes.
I'm going to go for good old faithful 17.
I think we're going to have a bit of, we might be in for a bit of a wild ride this race.
You're going
I think we're going to be a few drivers out of practice, maybe falling out of the window, gotten a little bit rusty. We've got a rookie on the grid. I can see there being a bit of madness going on. I'm going to go 16.
I was waiting for you to say like 12 or something. Go full chaos.
Not that mad, but
and then random driver. And in fact, with Lawson rejoining the grid, we actually have enough drivers left in the pool to not have to recycle the list now before the end of the season.
Wow.
Such is the amount of drivers we've had come and go this year. But this week, it is the other Haas driver, Nico Hülkenberg.
Hülkenberg's had some decent results. That's a very difficult random driver this week. He's had
an extremely good season, has Nico Hülkenberg.
He has quietly been having a heck of a season.
Yeah.
I am going to go 9th for Hülkenberg.
Yeah, that's about the ballpark I was looking. I want to say 10th, just to be different. Yeah, so that's what we think. As always, you can go to backthegrid.com to enter your predictions. A reminder that sprint weekends, we close the predictions a little earlier than normal. We close them at the beginning of sprint qualifying. And being in the States, that means for those of you in Europe, it's going to be much earlier than usual. So for the UK, it's going to be 10:30 on Friday night. Adjust that for your time zone accordingly. I think that's it.
That's your lot this week.
Minisode.
Yep. Back of the Grid Junior. All done. You can obviously leave us a comment. Leave us your tell us your prediction. Tell us which predictions you made in the comments if you did join the predictions league. That'd be interesting to see happen. Yeah, you can find us in all the usual places. Social media. We're on Facebook, like everyone from old times. We're in all the other places as well. Don't forget to submit your predictions and don't forget to leave a comment. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.